Alright, so we are going to enter Tam-Tara with a party of NPCs as our pugilist. So we get a Marauder, a Thaumaturge, and a Conjurer. Cultists are gonna cult. Cultists be cultin'. Alright, achievement for this area, I believe, is just at full exploration again. Yep, full exploration. There's something unsettling about this place, says our Marauder. Alright, well you go lead the way, sir. So we still don't have any AoE abilities. So it still behooves us to single target things down. As a monk, I actually do need to get better about remembering to use my chakra between combats, so we're gonna practice doing that. Come on, tank, you can do this. There you go. So I just did a big no-no. I had my butt sticking out, and an enemy saw it, and it aggroed them. We're fine, but it's just something to be mindful of. Again, your tank should always have their back facing your enemy's path, where they patrol. So that way, if one of them gets triggered, the tank will grab them. Again, because we have NPCs, it's kind of hard for me to force them to do that, but we do the best we can with what we've got here. Similar to Sastasha, we want to make sure that we go into the extra rooms with our NPCs, because we cannot expect players to do so. Thank you for the hearts. What were the hearts for, other than just loving, sending some loves? Having to do with the NPCs. Oh, I mean, again, I do it on purpose. I actually enjoy running with the NPCs one time, so I'm not gonna complain too much. But it's just, you do have to play differently. That being said, this is my first time playing through the lower dungeons with NPCs. I have done the trust system later on, but not the duty support system lower level. And they're actually doing a pretty good job. The tank will peel aggro if I pull aggro, which is more than you can say. Some of the other ones. So I feel like they've done a good job with improving the AI over the last few years since it first launched in Shadowbringers. Still can't do crazy things, but... Alright, so for this fight, you definitely want to always kill the gremlins first. As soon as the priest dies, a demon is summoned, and you don't want to be fighting the gravediggers while the demon is summoned. Again, it's not the end of the world. This dungeon's so easy that like people would have to make some serious mistakes. But it's still, that's not an excuse to like do things poorly. You know, being mindful of that sort of thing, having the tank take less damage means the healer can do more damage instead of spending cooldowns healing, which will speed up your run. And really that's what this comes down to, is just respecting everybody's time. Or in this case, because it's just me and NPCs, respecting my time and your time watching this. Alright, so we do need to click the orbs. That is the mechanic of this dungeon, so we have to go click this orb and then those two orbs down there. Once they're all clicked, the path to the last boss opens up. The tank actually moved out of the AoE, look at him. All things considered, that tank's not bad actually. There we go. Okay, so the Varley is attacking me. Okay, now the tank pulled him off of me. All right. So again, we do want to go and explore these side rooms while we have the NPCs, because you will not get to explore these with humans. A reminder, if you are a class that cares about directional facing and these orbs, you can't tell which way there's front. Just look at the aura below them. You can see which direction they're facing. So you can do things like attack on the flank and attack from behind. Now at this level, some classes will have AoE abilities. So as opposed to me doing single target rotations here, if you have an AoE ability, you will basically spam that ability over and over. That is going to be the best thing to do until they wear down to 1 or 2 enemies. Then you always switch to your single target rotation. Same as tank. But it's kind of a trap sometimes. There are some classes that people think, oh, I should like use my rotation. If it's 3 or more enemies at a time, you should always be using your AoE ability, even if it's just the same button over and over and over. It might be boring, but it's what's efficient. So a good practice for a fight like this is I have a stun, so I'm going to stun the caster, which helps the tank take less damage, which means that the healer can do more damage in turn. It's little things like that that really add up over the course of a fight and of a dungeon. You can tell I had a long day at work before I started streaming because my eyes are glazing over during these fights, and no amount of being efficient or inefficient is really going to mean too much. It's just a difference of a couple of minutes in the run. Now, on our Gladiator, we don't get a leap like that until like level like 65, something like that. This guy's cheating. The NPC is cheating. He's got a hacks. It's not fair. Nerf the CPU. So the monk at this level, my rotation is 1, 2, or really it's 1, 5, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 5, 3, 1, 2, 3. Just over and over and over. When I do 1, 5, it gives me a buff that increases my damage for 15 seconds. Which gives me just enough time to do my top combo, which does more damage, 1 time. And then 1, you see now 3, 2, 1, I use 5 again, and that refreshes the buff. So it's exactly enough time. And that's it, that's the entire rotation. If you do build up chakra, you can have another ability to weave in, but you'd use that ability between your rotation. So again, 1, 5, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then just repeat. 1, 5, 3, 1, 2, 3. There we go. Getting a lot of gear by doing this with the NPCs, actually. Once we get to a point where we're leveling 5 classes at a time, this will actually be a really beneficial way to earn gear. Alright, for this last area, there's a barrier. We have to continue down this hallway to lower this barrier. 1, 5, 3. 1, 2, 3. I accidentally pulled aggro, so I moved back to let the tank pull it. This pull can sometimes be spicy. Most important thing is just focus things down one at a time. When I say spicy, I mean just for newer players. Because there's 4 enemies at once. Again, with an experienced group, you should always be fighting for things. So we're killing the casters first, because casters always do a lot of damage before fighting the guys with axes, which are primarily tanks. Cool running with NPCs. You can actually take your time to explore a little. Take in the views. So again, this is kind of a weird fight because you have 5 enemies that spawn at once. But nothing has effectively changed. We still want to kill the gravediggers first. Just do your rotation. Work through the priority. We got the recolor. And now the final boss. So, against the Mind Flayer here, he will have opportunities where he will spawn additional minions. Who summons me from the void to reside? Something, something, something. It went too fast. He will summon enemies. And there will be one enemy that is tethered to him. So you'll see a beam. And then later on 2 enemies. You need to kill the tethered ones first. Now, again, if your tank knows what they're doing, your tank should be grabbing all of the ones that aren't tethered and moving them close to the tethered ones. And then so your group can AoE. Because we're a monk and we don't have an AoE, we're just going to be single targeting down the ones with the tether. Once the one with the tether is down, we're good to hit all the other ones. Go. Go. Go, tank. Go. There's the tether. So he's invulnerable. We couldn't hit him even if we wanted to. Again, we're going to focus on the tether. You do want to kill the ads. Again, the less damage that the tank is taking, the more damage the healer can do. Always move out of AoEs. I believe that one can be stunned, but I didn't want to risk it. Okay, this time we have 2 tethers. Alright, kill the enemies one by one. Alright, so if he does his cast again, we are going to try to stun it. We might not get the opportunity to, though. There we go. We did it. All right, that got us to Level 25, which also unlocked our next class quest. Thank you, NPCs. Thank you. Oh, they even do like little animations for you. Okay. Oh, thank you. All right, bye, guys. Bye. First things first, always turn on your tank stance, your iron will. And we're going to do double pulls. Which means we're just going to pull that group and this group. Just like this. We're going to point them away, although our Lancer decided to also get in front of it. I think the Lancer might be brand new. Alright, and now we're going to switch to a single target rotation. Alright. So there's a relatively large pull. So I did use my Rampart there. So as a general rule, you do want to rotate through your defensive cooldowns, which at this level we only have Reprisal and Rampart. You want to save them for the scariest part of the pull, which is always when the most people are attacking you. This is only 3 enemies. We do not need to worry about doing a defensive cooldown. We want to save it for... I mean, honestly, the boss, we're not going to need to use it against the boss in this dungeon. So I probably should have used it there. Reprisal. Reprisal also comes back once a minute, so it's fine. But and then you can stun these enemies, which is worth doing. Later on, you're going to start getting to the point where enemies can't be stunned, especially boss fights. Early on, it's very, very good to stun enemies when you can. Move out of the AoE. Move back to the exact same spot you were standing, so that way your melee DPS who have positionals can continue hitting them. Alright, and then we're going to run up. Now we are going to use our Rampart here. And we're going to watch. So here's my Rampart on my bar here. As soon as that runs out, if we still have like 4 enemies up, then we're going to use Reprisal. And yeah, I just accidentally pulled extra. So we're going to use Reprisal right now. Alright. So we're going to move everybody over by this caster. We are going to stun the caster so that way he can't keep casting. I'm going to notice, as a general rule, I'm keeping my back to the open hallway. So if something does patrol into us, like a group of enemies, they're going to attack me instead of attacking our friends. You can stun the caster, keep doing your AoEs. Once the big demon spawns, then you want to use your cooldowns and whatnot, doing your single target rotation. Alright. We're going to run... No, we're going to sprint, sorry. While sprinting, the enemies behind you, they can't do damage to you. They're not close enough to do damage. We're going to get all the way to the end. We're going to stun, and then we're going to use Rampart. Again, keep all of the enemies facing towards you and away from your allies. We're going to watch Rampart. We have 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Okay, we're going to use Reprisal right now. So that way, see how we're rotating our defensive cooldowns? So that way there's always one up. There's always one that's stopping us from taking too much damage. Alright, so we're going to grab these enemies. Now we don't have any defensive cooldowns, and several of these are casters. We do just want to make sure that we're stunning him. And then you want to kind of park between these 2 casters, so that way you can hit both of them at the same time. There we go. Both of our defensives are back up, but it's not worth using when there's only a couple enemies. Alright, so in this room we're going to run right past all these guys. And then we're going to run in this corner. which basically causes them to group up. Because the caster, you don't want the caster to be like far away from them. Do not use your defensives on this. We're only fighting 3 people. Anytime you're only fighting 3 enemies, you do not need to use any defensives. For this one, you want to get super close, because there are 4, and you want to park yourself right in the middle of them. And definitely use your rampart here. And again, the important thing, keep them faced away from your party. So when they do that AoE like that, oh, there we go, somebody stunned him. Good job. Is we want to run to the right, do 1 AoE, then run to the left and do another AoE. That ensures that we've picked up aggro on all of them, which you can see in our enemy list here. They're all of the enemies are flashing red. That means that they're all attacking us. Just like before, there will be a demon. It's very easy. Face him away from your party, and you are good to go. As adds are spawning, you just want to make sure that you go over to the tethered enemy and do your AoEs. You want to pick up all of the adds, the enemies that spawn with your AoE ability. But fight near the tether. Here we go, you see? The reason why is so that way the boss see these ads. So we're going to do 1 AoE, another AoE, and then we're going to move over by the imp. So that way people can do AoEs to kill the imp and the ads that spawned. While you're farther away, just make sure you sneak in a shield throw. Same thing here, right? AoE, 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 AoE. And whenever possible, just don't move the boss around. So that way your DPS can do their positionals. The important thing is consistency. Don't act erratically. And then you're done. We are always going to give... Oh, look at that. Yeah, we're definitely giving it to our white mage. She was awesome. And take an opportunity and hug a friend. There we go. All right. So we actually have a mentor on tank. That means that they are going to do large pulls. Let's be mindful of that. Cast arrow as you go. You want to make sure that they all have arrow on them. We're going to cast a preemptive heal on our tank. Now this is a larger pull, but just fill every global cooldown with a cast. Whether it be stone, arrow, or a heal. And then whenever the tank is running, run with the tank and cast arrow on the enemies. Alright, so we are going to heal him. Heal him. Cast stone. Cast stone. The tank is fine, by the way. The tank will not die. We're not going to heal the tank anymore. So again, we're going to land our arrows. So if you are a healer and watching this guide for the first time, a demon spawns after we kill the enemies. This fight happens multiple times throughout the dungeon. These are all very manageable. The damage that the demon does is very low. If you're running with NPCs, you may need to do a little bit more healing. I'm going to heal once. Just as a precaution. Otherwise, you are good to just continue doing damage. You want to fill every global cooldown with damage. I'm going to cast Cure on our tank once. And then we don't need to heal him again. Okay, so he's going to pull these adds. No? You're not? Okay. He could have. It'd be fine. Okay. He's changing his mind. I don't know what he's doing. You're gonna get this a lot. You're gonna get, so what the reason he's doing is he's not sure how far he can push me. So he's being cautious. In general, Final Fantasy players, in general, they're gonna be respectful of you and go at your speed. So that's what he's doing. He's just seeing how well I'm keeping up and how I'm acting. Just gonna keep doing damage. And that means the boss will die before he does. While he's clicking the orb, we can heal him. Okay. He does need to be cautious here because of line of sight. Alright, so I'm weaving in 1 stone, 1 cure. Alright, he won't need another cure. I'm going to use sprint to catch up with him. He's very greedy here. Alright, we're going to get into a good position and start healing him. He's going to take a lot of damage, so we need to assume that we need to do quite a bit of healing here. Alright, we can do a couple of stones. Now again, we were casting arrow that entire time that we were running. So we are passively doing a lot of damage to the enemies that we ran past. I'm going to sprint to catch up. This next pull hits very hard, so I am going to start casting a heal on him. Then let's get arrows up. Alright, they've all been arrowed. Gonna heal him once. And then we're gonna do damage. Arrow up on the boss. And again, this is more like a mini boss. This demon does not do a significant amount of damage. He does do a conal AoE, which is easy to move out of. And if you are casting consistent damage, the tank will not need a heal. Assuming he didn't take a lot of damage in the previous portion of the fight, so. Against this boss, he becomes invulnerable, and a minion will spawn, an imp, that we need to kill for him to stop being invulnerable, sorry. So we just got to be mindful of that minion when it spawns. Now this boss does hit significantly harder than the previous boss did, so we do need to make sure that we do heal the tank. I'm not even going to switch to the imp because by the time I get done casting, he'll be dead. I am going to throw arrow up on the imp. Going to heal the tank. There we go. So again, we're going to heal the tank, and then we're going to focus on this imp over here. Now sometimes the tank will pull all the enemies near one of the imps, which will allow the team to AoE him down. We didn't do that here, but that's fine. And now we can just focus down the boss. We can just keep casting on every global cooldown, stone or cure, and we're good. We are going to give our tank a hug. Big hug. Big hug. And always, always, always give a commendation. And that is running Tam-Tara on healer. Tam-Tara Deepcroft on range DPS, which we are running through on Archer. So when you're running this dungeon with humans in the Duty Finder, obviously you're going to have people who are a little bit more experienced, and they're going to do slightly larger pulls. As a general rule, you're just going to want to position yourself to do your AoE, which is Quick Knock, as often as possible, into the queue of enemies. So Quick Knock, again, you get it at level 18. So if you haven't unlocked it yet, just do your single target rotation. But you should be level 18 by the time you get to Tam-Tara. And what you're going to do is you're going to position yourself so that all of the enemies are grouped in front of you, because Quick Knock does a cone of damage. So imagine a triangle is in front of you. In some instances, it's actually better to do single target rotation on 2 enemies because you want to kill one of the enemies. But like this situation where there's this many, you're just going to use Quick Knock literally over and over. There we go. And so when there's only one enemy left, you just switch to your single target and you're good. So we're already at the first boss, and I say boss in quotes because essentially we just have to kill these these enemies right here, and then a demon spawns. The demon who spawns is a single target rotation. Like you just switch to your single target, so do your heavy shot, make sure you're weaving in your bloodletters, do straight shot. While running, so if the tank is grabbing enemies while we're running, you want to be rotating through the enemies and adding venomous stings to them. Or venomous shot, or venomous bite, sorry. And then once the tank stops, you stop and do your Quick Knock. Just follow your tank. There'll be a couple of these rooms. Okay, so they are going to do the thing. So most of the time what they'll do is they'll combine this pull with this boss pull, basically. Because again, it's just more enemies. You can definitely do this. You do not have to be super efficient at this. As a ranged DPS, essentially you could do this entire dungeon by only using Quick Knock, and you would still be incredibly efficient. But of course, I'm going to try to teach you good habits, so that way you can be more efficient. And then so later on, you'll get those commendations, and people really appreciate playing with you as DPS. So again, we're running with our tank, and we're applying our Venomous Bite as we go. He did not pull those extra Yarzons, so we're not going to attack them. As a ranged DPS, you can do damage while you're running. So make sure you are pressing your buttons. Get to the new enemies. We're going to apply our Venomous Bites. So this looks very chaotic, but the tank is doing a wonderful job of keeping aggro. So if you notice, I do have my enemy list right near the center of my screen over here. And the enemy list is showing me that it's green, which means the enemies are all attacking our tank, not me. Which means we're safe to just go crazy. If you ever have an enemy list item that is red, that means the enemy is targeting you. And it means that you need to move, go find the tank. Be mindful. Stop attacking that thing, of course. Now, because this is a caster, I'm going to put myself right behind the caster to do my Quick Knock. That ensures that it's hitting everything in front of the caster in that V. You just stay calm, keep moving. I play relatively zoomed out for this reason, so that way I can always have a really good view of the entire battlefield. So again, the four enemies are in front of me, just spamming Quick Knock over and over and over. This does trigger a fight with all 5 of these enemies. You just want to give your tank just 1 second to get aggro on them. And then target the one in the back, put all the gremlins between you and him, and then just start doing your Quick Knock, and they will all be dead in about 4 rotations. Once the demon spawns, hit it with a Venomous Bite, and then start using all your cooldowns in your single target rotation. Again, as an archer, you should be practicing Bloodletter, which is off the global cooldown. So Bloodletter, the benefit of Bloodletter is that you can cast it while your other abilities are on cooldown. So you never want to cast it when you can cast Heavy Shot or Straight Shot. You want to cast it in between those abilities. It's called weaving the ability. You do want to stay back because the boss does do an AoE ability. which is a ranged DPS is very easy for you to do. At this level, this should be more or less identical to how a machinist or a dancer would run it. However, there might be some slight differences, so just be mindful of that. So there's the big AoE. Our Venomous Bite is about to expire. We're fine with that. We have really good DPS here. So there's a bunch of enemies that the tank is going to grab here. We're going to let them be grabbed, and we're just going to kill the imps. And we'll do one quick knock, which will just finish off the rest. And that's it. Make sure you always give a commendation. This is a smooth run. As a DPS, this is what you're always looking for. And honestly, I know it may not have appeared that way, but a lot of the speed was due to our consistent use of Quick Knock. Quick Knock is incredibly strong at this level, so I highly recommend getting very comfortable with it. You will, until about your 40s, I think, like late 30s, 40s, when you get a second ability, if I remember correctly. It's been a while since I've played Archer. Quick Knock essentially is going to be the ability you're going to be using 90% of the time in all dungeons until that level range. So get very comfortable with Quick Knock, get very comfortable with the spacing and with the size of the cone, and if you can do that, you'll be a successful DPS, I promise. That is it for Tam-Tara on Archer. At level 19, we do have access to Fire 2, which is our AoE ability for fire. If you do not have Fire 2 unlocked yet, you will have Blizzard 2, which is still very effective for AoE situations. So what you're going to do is on any fight where there is 2 enemies, or 1 enemy, 1 or 2 enemies, we're going to do single target. Every other fight, we are going to do our AoE rotation. While you're running with the tank and the healer here, like this, you just want to be casting Scathe over and over, because it's your instant cast, and it can be used while moving. Alright, so they stopped. We're going to target an enemy and start pumping out our damage with our Fire 2 here. And then once we're down to just 1 enemy left, we're going to switch to just our single target rotation here. Do not bother with Thunder. You are safe to just do your standard rotation and just weave in your AoE. This does take a little bit of getting used to on Thaumaturge. It's a little bit different on Arcanist, so if you're playing on Arcanist, your experience is going to be a little bit different. You might have to do more single target rotation. But on Arcanist, luckily, you don't have as punishing of cast time situations as what Thaumaturge does. Thaumaturge, you do end up losing a lot of DPS in these earlier dungeons because of how long your casts are, and to be completely honest, just how fast enemies die to experienced players. Don't be alarmed by that. It's absolutely okay. By no means are you under any duress to do good DPS here. This is still an early enough dungeon that it's about paying attention, learning the mechanics, and just doing your base rotations. So you're absolutely fine. Go at your pace. So once again, while we're running, Scathe. You don't want to keep hitting the same enemy over and over with Scathe, because you don't want to risk pulling aggro on them while you're running. But again, just make sure you're doing your AoE rotation anytime there are 3 or more enemies on the screen. Once this middle carrion beetle dies right now, alright, so we're going to switch to single target. That fire won't even cast, and then this fire won't even cast. Oh, it casted, but after the fact. And again, that's fine. Your party is going slow, and you're going to get at least 10 seconds of thunder damage, then it is worth casting it. Otherwise, just do your basic blizzard and fire rotation, casting Scathe as we're running. And I'm just tabbing through these enemies. Alright, the tank is stopped. We're running past the tank just a hair, so that way we're out of this AoE. While you're running, it is a good idea to make sure that you are in ice, so that way your MP is refilling. And most things will also pull this guy. Yeah. The only issue is this guy is ranged over here on the right. So we aren't going to be able to hit him with our AoEs. It's just not going to be feasible. So we're just going to do our single target rotation here. Start casting our AoE. There is one caster in this group, so he's going to be back there. Now the tank really should be moving them over next to the caster, but it is what it is. We can't force him to do it. While we're running, transpose back into ice to make sure that our MP is full for the next fight. Now this next fight is always 4 enemies. Just target one of the ones in the rear and just start doing your AoE rotation. The tank should move them over. So once the seal barrier goes down, this is a fight of all 5 of these enemies. Again, we're going to do something very similar, where we're going to target one of the ones in the middle, do our AoE, and it should be hitting all of them. It looks like... Okay, yeah, it is. It is hitting the guy in the back. And then switch to single target, which he's already dead. Very, very efficient team here. Now for this boss, you want to stay at range, because he does do a circular AoE around him. So stay at range, and then he'll become invulnerable at certain points of the fight, where we have to kill an enemy who's tethered to him. I'll call it out when it happens. You do want to keep Thunder up on this boss. Just be mindful that it won't do damage while he's invulnerable. So here's our Imp. So immediately switch to the Imp. It dies very quickly. Okay, we want to do one AoE ability here. And then switch back to our single target. So you just want to be on the outside of that. Keep our Thunder up. Now the last invulnerability phase has these 2 tethers. Again, just target whichever one is closest to you. Start burning it down. We're the only one attacking the tethered. So the boss was still invulnerable there, but that's fine. And then do not worry about casting Thunder because he's so close to being dead. And the Melee DPS may do a limit break. May not. We'll see. So that's it. Tam-Tara is very easy. This is just about teaching you about some extra mechanics and just kind of layering on what we already learned. Make sure you always give a player commendation. These 3 dungeons are all just about teaching you how dungeons in Final Fantasy XIV largely work and just layering on, mechanics. So do not feel intimidated if this is a little bit rough. Again, a lot of parties will pull very aggressively in this dungeon because of its ease, just how easy it is. And but run it a couple times, run it if you feel comfortable, follow the guide, practice those rotations, practice when to be in AoE versus single target, and you'll be okay. Thanks for watching, guys. That is it for Tam-Tara Deepcroft.